Hello, I'm Catherine Brown Ramsperger, author of the award-winning The Shores of Our Souls. You can call me Kathy. Welcome to my story hour. I created Story Hour to connect avid readers with brilliant writers. If you're one or both, and you probably are both, you've come to the right place. Welcome. Today we're chatting with master numerologist, teacher, mentor, and now author, Darlene Chadbourne. Welcome, Darlene. I'm sure lots of people are excited to hear what you have to say about numbers and what's in store for us in the new year. Thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you for the invite, Kathy. I really appreciate it. And it's my favorite thing to talk about my passions and what I love to do.
I can tell that from your book. I know why you do what you do now after having read it. So it's a beautiful story and an amazingly instructive book. So a little bit about Darlene. Darlene uses numerology to connect the dots of life. If you connect your passion, your purpose, and your potential, you'll have a fulfilled and well guided life. And Darlene can help you do that. She's worked with people from all walks of life, from newborns to those in their 80s. And how does she do that? By mentoring people through change and helping them connect and keep connected to their original passions and purpose they arrived with at birth. So this is Darlene's first book. I hope it won't be your last, which we'll talk about today. It's called Freedom Through Numbers by Finding Your I Am. It's a beginner's numerology guide and self-help book available at all regular bookstores and online. Um, and a couple of people reviewed that I'd like to call out because they did such a good job explaining it in such few words. Sandra Otterstrom calls it a wonderful book and easy to follow along with and do your own numbers. Darlene walks you through the process. She goes beyond what others give you to find your numbers. She also gives you more than one way to do this. Very good descriptions of the meanings of the numbers. And then reader Jocelyn says she recommends this book to all who are interested in numerology as it has a different style to it. I totally agree. It made me, it intrigued me more than most just regular guide how-tos on numerology or anything else, frankly. Has a different style to it than other numerology books. She understands how to inspire you to reach your full potential. So thanks again for being here, Darlene. And I think we'll just start with questions. I realize numerology is your go-to tool, but I know in the book you talk a little bit about how you arrived at using it as the number one tool. I know you do many other things, including dowsing. And can you tell us a little bit about your other gifts, your other skill sets?
Yes, my life has been quite interesting in how things arrive in it. And the numerology itself arrived when I turned 50, and I decided that I was a mother and wife and daughter, and took care of my husband's 3 businesses. And I decided there's got to be more to this than just that. So I wanted to go to college, and I did. But first I went to a psychic to get a reading when I turned 50. That was my gift to myself.
Cool.
And when I was leaving, the psychic said, they are telling me that you need to borrow this book. And it was Dusty Bunker's Numerology and the Divine Triangle. Dusty Bunker and Faith Gervain wrote that together. And so I left it set for a while and went off to
Did you
school.
even know what she was talking about? I mean,
No, not really. In fact, it was around the house. And when I finally picked it up and started reading it one day, because she said she was in no hurry to get it back, I laid it down on the floor to answer the telephone. And our new puppy chewed the cover off. So now I owned the book. And in owning the book, I had to buy her a new one, of course. And so that was just an interesting take. Like the universe was going to make sure I just didn't return it and do nothing with it, right? So then when I did go to college, I needed a math degree. And excuse me, the numbers in sacred geometry were my components to get my math degree. So I went back to the numbers and the numerology and took the dowsing that I do, which I learned in the 80s. I started school in 95, but in the 80s, I had this gentleman appear in my life through different weird connections. And he was connected to a herbal company, that one of those MLMs, and he would come and douse people or use kinesiology, it was referred to, as to what the herbal program was. So that's how I started dowsing. But in the middle of my math study, well, not even the middle, the beginning, I got an invitation within 2 weeks of starting that study to come and learn how to dowse a labyrinth in Kittery, Maine, which is not far from me. And so I did that, and that extended my dowsing. And now I use dowsing to for emotional release work, really. And people have roadblocks, you know, they really come up with things that they've carried forever and forget they're there in their energy field. And so I start by dowsing their energy fields, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and energetic. And if each of those is not 100%, then we have some work to do. And so that's how I use the dowsing skills with the numerology. And I call myself now the dowsing numerologist because it is an odd combination. And, so I try to weave it all together and use it all.
I think it's whatever you use. Um, I use words and pictures because that's what
Hmm.
I'm best at. I get it.
Exactly.
Um, so I know you added dowsing, but why numerology more than any other method other than the book being gifted to you? Were you good at math as when you were?
No, I dislike math. The calculating math I dislike. I was never good at it. Geometry I enjoyed in high school. I did like geometry. Um, but the numbers just kept showing up in places. I mean, the professor that I worked with for that semester said, I think you're going to need to borrow this book. It's out of print for your study. And it was called Time Stands Still. And it was about an architecture who studied the sacred geometry of ancient buildings, okay, churches and buildings. And in the back of the book was a numerology chart in the last chapter. So there's that numerology sticking in my face right there
It was
again.
going to get you whether or not. And
Exactly.
I also love that
Exactly.
you started something, you completely changed your life at 50. I mean, that's not uncommon,
Hmm.
but it's such a number five, isn't it?
It is a number five, and it has that zero with it. And in talking about where we are in time and space right now, we're going to talk a lot about zero. And when zero, which represents everything and nothing, comes together with another number, it lifts it to a higher spiritual vibration.
Mhm.
So that five was picked right up. And that's why it's so important when we hit those decade markers of 30, 40, 50, that they're important. And it was midlife for me. Okay. And we talk about midlife crisis and all that in society, but midlife in numerology, or your maturity path, is from age 35 to 65. And 50 is right smack dab in the middle.
Mhm.
Okay, so some people start early thinking about the rest of their life at 35 going forward, especially the younger generation who have come in programmed very different than mine and yours.
Yeah.
And then, others, it's some people don't start until their 60s. But the way I figure it according to decades is the 30s are your creative years. You're really into creativity. And for women, sometimes it's just creating a family and children. And then the 40s are about building that new foundation on to replace the foundation your parents gave you to live with.
Mhm.
Okay. And then the 50s are about creating the changes to build the structure on that new foundation. And your 60s are when you get to the point of wanting harmony and grace and beauty in your life. And hopefully by that time you're there. Okay. And things are flowing beautifully. Your 70s, it's your spiritual time. And that's where I'm at. So it's a time of, counting your blessings and being grateful for everything you've been given in your life. And I don't care how rough your life was, how bumpy the road was, especially for master numbers who have those double digit numbers. It's a rough childhood usually. And we need to come to terms with why we're here. What's that soul's purpose? That's what I'm after for people. Okay.
I think your readings must be fascinating. So we talked about dowsing. Is there a connection between numerology and astrology?
Um, the only connection that I can see is they deliver the same type of service. They do not deliver the same information. They both work from your date of birth and time of birth has some yeah, that word that I'm
Relevant.
looking for, relevance. Yes. And um, other than that, they give you information about your overall life and your purpose here. But it's two totally different ways. And the way I put it is numerology is the kindergarten version. Astrology is the master level of college version because it is so complex and so in depth, the astrology part, that numerology is pretty easy, straightforward, and not overly complex.
I, I have never tried to figure out my numbers on my own, but I know it seems much more straightforward than astrology because as soon as you learn a little bit about astrology, then there's one more deeper level, and then there's another, and then there's another, and it could go on forever. So
It's very
like this
complex.
the
Yes.
universe, yeah. So okay, that's fantastic. One more question, then we're going to break for some questions from the audience. Um, you seem to have a really unique way of reading the numbers, and I'm wondering, I've never at least seen it that way before, not that I'm any expert at all. And I'm wondering how you came about your method. Um, and if we have the time, it might be too complex because it's I'm sure it was a gradual evolution, wasn't it?
Definitely a gradual evolution. Because when I first started, I had to research for hours to make sure that what I was thinking this person had, I would go to this book and see what they had to say. I've got probably 50 numerology books, and I would, say, okay, I can use that part for this person, that part. I was not connected to my intuition at that time at all. My clients started telling me I was intuitive from what they were getting out of the reading. And I decided along the path to take Reiki. And for me, Reiki was a spiritual can opener. I don't practice Reiki. I have done 3 levels, but boy, did it open up my intuition. And so intuitively, I've developed this method that's a little different than most. And people, because there are different ways of calculating the numbers, um, and it's simple addition. That's all it is. It's very simple addition. But if you don't calculate all 3 or 4 ways, then you might miss the number, the double digits that have a 0 with them. You might miss the karmic numbers. Um, and there are 5 karmic numbers. The master numbers, which are twin digits, 11, 22, 33, up to 99, you might miss these if you reduce everything down to a single digit. So when I do my blueprints for people, I include the whole equation from the first total I get, and sometimes it reduces to a second total, and then it reduces again. And those original totals are the adjectives that help me interpret the numbers as to how that person is going to get to a 5 energy in their way when they've got a 23-5 maybe, where another person that has a 14-5 is going to approach getting to the 5 energy in a different way because of the adjectives.
That's fascinating. And it makes sense, but I hadn't thought of it like that before. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So Kaylee, I bet we have some questions.
Yes, we have one question right now from Noelle Puglisi, and she's asking, how much do you rely on numbers in your day-to-day life?
A lot. I do. Numbers and dowsing. I live my life by numbers and dowsing. And I pay attention to the number vibration of words that keep coming up. And if a word keeps showing up in my, either in my speech or I keep coming across this word, I'll figure out the numerology of that word. And the second half of my book is all about finding that I am. And my book is more about working the numbers, not just knowing what they are, because all numerology books will give you what they are. But this is about working them. And what I mean by that is I give you 8 blueprint numbers, and you can take, say, you want to work on your career success number. Well, in the appendix of my book, I have lists of words and what the number is they vibrate to. And so if you take and make affirmations in the same number that your career success number is, then that's taking that intention and affirming it over and over, writing the affirmation, seeing the affirmation, hearing the affirmation, in order to allow the opening toward spirit giving you clues, giving you leads, taking you on that journey that you need to be here for.
We actually have one more question. It came in as you were talking, but that's interesting because, again, it's sort of, I was thinking of patterns when you were talking about that, thinking patterns in particular, just combined with listening. I feel like a lot of it has to do with listening and paying closer attention.
We need all the senses, because all the senses feed our brain in different ways, and it feeds our energy field in different ways, because we're all about energy now.
Right. So the next question is from Tatiana Ramsov, and she asks, my brother has always said that he sees the number 1111 all the time. He was told it was an angel number. Have you ever heard of that in your numerology work? And do you have another meaning for it?
That is the most asked question that people ask me, is I see this number all the time. What does it mean? Well, for one, the number is important for you to know what that number stands for. But the bigger importance is the fact Spirit's trying to get your attention. And you need to pay attention to what is being given to you in synchronistic ways, in, making an error that is not like you to make that kind of error, but what is it showing you? Okay. 1111 is the most common, and the number 11 is about the master number of being the master intuitive, the master spiritual person, the master visionary, the master dreamer. So you're sensitive and you need to pay attention to that energy that maybe you're not aware of how intuitive you are or how drawn to spirit you are. And the biggest test for an 11 is if you go into a very crowded area and you come home with energy that you don't feel good. You were fine when you went into that area. You don't have good boundaries. And so you're picking up other people's energy. And it's very easy for an 11 too to pick up other people's energies. But they're a visionary and they're a dreamer, and their ideas are incredible, and they can be turned into actual physical things if they pay attention and allow them to develop. But it's really spirit trying to get your attention. We have more input coming in than we know.
Hmm.
Absolutely, for sure. I've seen it all week myself, and I know it's because I had a pet pass, and I know I that's what it meant for me. It was,
Mm,
yeah, it was. I think I call them my peeps, saying it's okay, she's with us. But it's always a slightly different message, isn't it?
it is. It is. And the hardest thing is when it's a premonition. Okay, because sometimes with those powerful double digits, you do get premonitions, but with the premonition never comes the time frame for you. It could be tomorrow, it could be 3 years from now. Okay, and opening yourself up to ask spirit, because there's a lot of guides and spirits that we have out there for us, but unless we ask, they can't give us the information. They have to be invited to give us the information. And journaling is one of the most beautiful ways to allow spirit to come in. If you just sit and write and ask what you want and allow yourself to write. That's how I got my book done finally. Took me forever, but um, it was
We're
just,
so glad you did.
well, it was writing when spirit was there helping, you
Yeah,
know?
I find we talk a lot about this on the show about how people write, and it's about allowing, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and not struggling with it.
Exactly.
But it would make sense that you channel too, completely channel,
Mm.
and that's how I write too. At least my first draft. And you just have your permission, Tatiana. Go write.
Yes.
So I want to make sure we get to 2021 because time passes so quickly on these shows. Um, I have a very broad question about what numerology can tell us about next year and this month transitioning. We've had a year, so uh, how can we best prepare for 2021? Maybe would be my first question, and we can go from there.
Okay. Well, the background to that question is started in the year 2000. Think about the fact most all of us, not all of us, because there's a lot of newer generations out there, but most all of us were born in 19 something. Okay. So we've had the 1 and the 9 accompanying us our whole life and until 1999. And then that drastic change to a 2 and 3 zeros. Look how much spiritual backing we had to changing from that 1, the energy about the self-importance, not ego or arrogance, but self-importance. And people that have a strong 1 energy is, I was born with a purpose. I intend to fulfill that purpose. That is your self-importance, not ego or arrogance. You're not saying, look at me, how great I am. But with the 2, it's all about teamwork. It's about cooperation. It's about peace at all costs. And the old system, the old patriarchal system that we're under, that Piscean age, is really having a difficult time letting go. That's what we're going through right now. So we've been in the 20 double digits. You know, first we had the 3 zeros, then we had the double digits with the single numbers, and then 2010 was the last time we had the doubles, and then we went into the teens, and now we've had double digits of the zeros again, plus the double 2s. So we've got working together, cooperating, negotiating, mediating, all that peaceful energy that is anything but that right now, but we're trying so hard to get to it.
We have to
Okay.
get through the muck to get to the
Exactly. And this month in particular is very powerful. December is a 3 energy. The 12 is a 3. And 1212, this Saturday, is that gateway or Stargate energy that brings in very strong influences. And of course, we've got the eclipse on Monday. And then there's another eclipse on the solstice. So because the year is in such chaos, we had this same eclipse in the same signs, very similar eclipse in 2000 on the solstice in 2001. And what did we have go on in the world that year but 9/11 and all the homeland security that went on, lockdown, okay? Everything, nobody can fly, nobody can. And here we are again with that same type of energy this year. So when things happen on the solstice, especially eclipses, it's very strong. Okay, I learned this from my astrology friends. It doesn't have a lot to do with numerology, but the numbers do. Next year, we've been in a 4 vibration because you add those 2s together, 2 2s equal a 4. The zeros don't add up anymore. So it's been a 4. Our whole foundation has been sort of shaken and wanting change, okay? Next year, 2021, we have the 1 back, the one that we all know very well because we lived with it for so long. But this will be the last time for 10 years. We won't see that 1 again until 2031, okay? And we'll only have the double digits 2020, 2030, 2040. Every 10 years, things come back to similar, okay? So that 2021 vibration, the total for the year universally is a 5. 5 represents change, okay? It's still going to be up and down energy, and it's still going to be somewhat tumultuous, and it won't really settle really well until 2022, which will be a 6. Harmony and balance, okay, is 6 energy. But this period, the number 5, temporary vibration, and we all have our own personal year vibrations, but this 5 energy for right now is, I want to be a free spirit. And how much freedom do we need more than anything else right now in our life? We're not free to go and come as we please. We're not free to go without a mask, so there's a lot of things suppressing. And that suppression needs to be lifted. And next year is that transitionary period of the 5 that brings change. Okay. Before we can get to the peace and harmony and a balance of the 6 energy.
And will the change bring more freedom bit by bit, or we're still gonna?
That's what we're all going to work on to manifest, okay?
Okay.
We do have to raise our vibration high enough to allow the old to crumble and the new vibration to come in. And the younger generation, like Kaylee's, they are the boots on the ground right now, doing the changing and having the new ideas, the new ways of doing things. And our biggest thing that I think is an interference is when we have to deal, and the artificial intelligence is part of the Aquarian age. It is a part. The Aquarian age is about disconnection and being disassociated with things. It's not the same as the Piscean age, which was more power over others, okay, and control by fear and divide and conquer. Well, that's a little bit of what we've got now. People are being kept separate. But the Aquarian age is more about technology. It is very much about technology. And 5, the secret that everybody needs to keep for next year is, yes, we want to be a free spirit, but in order to get anything done, we need to stay grounded. Okay, you need both the heavenly energy and the earth energy working together, and we're the connecting rod. Okay,
Can you
so
give us some tips on staying grounded? I know that I certainly haven't mastered it, but it was my work for this decade is to, because I'm an empath
mhm,
and I feel everything, and it was to own my own energy, be empowered in my own energy, and to do that, you have to ground. So,
exactly.
how do you ground?
I actually do an exercise every morning, and I stand up and I use my arms to bend over, touch the floor if I can, and scoop up that earth energy right to the heart and cross my hands at my heart. And then I reach up to pull down the heavenly energies to the heart. The heart is the joining space between the above and below. And then I do that 3 times, one for heaven, one for earth, and one for myself. And if I'm working with clients that day, I do it 5 times to bring in the left and the right circles. This is the form and the sacred geometry Metatron's cube that's on the cover of my book. That bringing in the circles on the left and the right, because we get our energy source from heaven and from the crystal core of the earth. But it's when we give to everyone on the human level around us. And we have to give, but we also have to receive. So that figure 8 going this way in the infinity sign is just as powerful as going up and down. And doodling the figure 8 in both directions is a wonderful grounding exercise. But the other piece that I follow that with the exercise with is the mantra, and the mantra is in the book, um, is I am fully connected above and below. My job today is to just show up. Universe, God, spirit, whatever you call that energy. Your job is to bring me safely where I need to be, bring to me who needs to see me, and bring me to whomever I need to see to fulfill my purpose in this lifetime. And when I started that mantra, my business changed, my life changed. So many changes came into my life. And it was just sort of handing it over to spirit and say, okay, I'm here. I showed up. Now bring it on.
Beautiful explanation. And I love the mantra. And um, I just am reminded of knocking, the door shall open, and asking for help.
Mm-hmm. You have to ask, definitely, definitely. And knocking on that door is a beautiful symbol. I used to teach kindergarten kids um, um, in my background of church upbringing. And my favorite picture was Christ knocking on the door. And I would always tell him, he's knocking on the door to your heart. Okay. And um, in order for children to understand, their heart needs to stay open. And I work with that myself to this day, making sure my heart is open. And every once in a while, something comes along and says, oh, you better protect yourself, you better close up. And you have to keep it open to keep going. Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm almost thinking we should break for questions one right now if we have any, Kaylee, because that was a lot of great information. So maybe we have a few.
We do have a few questions. We have a question from Marilyn L. Rice, and she says, I seem to be guided toward 5 and 9. I think of them as lucky numbers, but would love to know the real meaning.
Okay. Well, 5 we've talked about a little bit is wanting to be a free spirit, but also it is the absolute best number for writing and journaling. And it's about the written word. It's about languages. It's about communicating through the written word. And, but be careful with the 5, because if you get ungrounded and become sort of an airy fairy out there, you'll be like the kite. If someone lets go of the string, they disappear into the atmosphere and nobody can find you. Now, the 9, on the other hand, is a number of completion, but it's also the number of unconditional love and unconditional love for humanity. In the single digits, it's the humanitarian number. And if you have 9s in your chart, is make sure you take your time getting into a relationship, because you're an unconditional lover and you need to wait long enough to meet someone that can treat you the same way you treat others. So that's my advice on 9. So both good numbers. They're all good numbers. They both have a positive and they both have a negative, and all the numbers are that way.
She's an author, so that makes sense.
Okay.
Spiritual too. Our books are spiritual, and so that makes sense too.
Very good.
And then we have another question from Pat. Excuse me if I pronounce your last name wrong. Mayo. To get my number, do I have to add my birth time? My birthday adds to a 9.
The birthday adds to a 9. That is your native path or life path number. The time, the only way I use time in numerology is it's important to know if you are born an hour one side or the other of midnight. That's where I need to know the time. If you are born within that hour, one side or the other, you need to do your chart for both days. Because of things that can happen in the birthing process and stuff, your recorded number may not be as accurate as you think. And the soul was very close to midnight making that decision which day to come in. So when a person is within that 2-hour time frame, I always do a blueprint for both that day, and if they're real close to midnight, for the next day, or if they're both born on the other side of midnight early in the morning, I always do it for the day before as well. So I always do both days. And that would be what you would want to be looking for as far as time goes in numerology.
Is that it, Kaylee, for now?
We have one more question from Noelle Puglisi, and she asks, Darlene, what are 6 good numbers for tomorrow's Mega Millions? LOL.
I don't even go there. Good luck. But
So funny.
no, I don't go there. Some people do. There are books written about it. So you can find them.
And then we just have a comment from Marilyn Rice. She just says, thank you. She wished she'd met you 30 years ago. Unconditional love. That's me, and I've always picked the wrong men. So
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah,
I smile so much, because I know her. And you know, today is the first day of the rest of your life, Marilyn. So
exactly. And I have to tell you that I'm 77, but at 72, I met a person that is in my life now, and it's the most loving energy I have ever experienced in my whole life. So do not give up on love. It can always show up. So
okay. Thank you. I knew there were some questions that really were waiting to be answered before we went on. Thank you for that wonderful explanation. And also, I had never known that about midnight. My son was born 12:50 a.m.
oh.
On December 6th, 1995. So I can't wait to have a reading. He would never come to you, but I think that it's going to explain a lot to me as his mother.
Well, I do a lot of reading, family readings for the mom in the group, you know,
Yeah.
and it helps explain who you're living with, your husband. It helps explain the kids. I love when parents decide to have their charts done for their kids, especially when they get to be high school age. So they don't waste a lot of money thinking they know what they're going to study in college and decide after the first year, no, this isn't it. If they knew their passions, their gifts, and their purposes, they could really save a little money and time in, you know, heading them in the right direction.
Well, he's at the beginning of his career now, and I think it would serve him well to know. He
Sure.
really is quite the self-possessed individual, but enough about me. I want to make sure we get on to the other questions. So,
One other comment I want to make, it's just crossing my mind, is adoption is another big thing I work
well,
with.
you're
And,
talking about both of my children. Right? My
oh,
son is a birth child. My daughter
mhm.
was adopted. Yeah.
Okay. With adoption, people have two charts. Okay. It's like being in a card game and having two hands to play with instead of just one. And I have two granddaughters. My son adopted two girls. He married their mom and adopted them. And so I've observed how they use their numbers in their two charts all through life. And people that are adopted are old souls that have come in to touch many lives. And most of them don't know that, and they think, oh, I wasn't wanted or this or that. And there's such a stigma around it when they are such an old soul touching and doing such great work in this world that I want them to know that.
Thank you. I hope to share this with my daughter. I hope she will look at
Okay.
it. It's not because you're on it, it's because I'm on it. But you never know. She might look at it later, and I'll definitely share that message with her.
Mm-hmm.
She is amazing, and thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you work with a number called the Native Path number,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a little blurry on whether that was something you created or something all numerologists know. Native.
All numerologists use that same position. Some call it the life path, some call it the birth path, and it all comes from the day, your date of birth. Okay. The 8 positions that I give to people on the blueprint are the soul's number, which is what you brought in with you, the personality number, what you're here to shine out your brightest, the path of destiny, your goals you're reaching for, your inner guidance number, how you best get your inner guidance coming into you, then your native path, which is the lessons you're here to learn and very current. Then there's the maturity path, um, which is 35 to 65, and career success number and fulfillment, what makes your soul sing. Okay, so those are the positions, and there's past, present, and future in those positions. And then there's the temporary numbers, which really tell you where you are, what's a good time to do what. Okay, when it's a window of opportunity and when it's not.
Cool. So everybody, I know that's a lot of numbers, but the book really does go through them one by one. So you'll get a lot of information from the book. Very clear. You're a very clear writer, and
Thank you.
very true. And or you can book a reading with Darlene. So
Sure.
I'm certainly going to do it now. So I guess really the most fun thing that we could do, and it might be exemplary, is that I am a 5. That is my native path number, and Kaylee's been told she's a 4. She is an Aquarian, and even though I'm a Leo and I have a lot of fire in my astrology, um, I I have this strange conjunct in Aquarius that I could not explain to you if I tried to, um, because people have tried to explain it to me, but it's a pretty rare thing. So when she told me she was an Aquarian, I thought, oh, that makes perfect sense astrologically. But I do have a 4 in my chart. Is that why we work well together? Because we do.
Yes, yes. In fact, those are other readings that I do is relationship readings, whether it's business relationship or intimate relationships or children-parent relationships. Those are one type of reading. I also do location readings. And if you're intending to move somewhere and you have choices as to what city you're going to around an area, I take up to 10 cities to figure out the vibration of that city. And if we can match it to 3 or more of your blueprint numbers, it's a very good success rate in that area. And they say that if your soul number matches one of the numbers of the location, you also are very content and happy there. So that's another way to use all the different numbers and the different readings. It can be pretty complex, but it depends on what you're looking for and when you need it.
Right, when you need it, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. Okay. So, Keely, I'm wondering if you could just show the book cover now, and I am going to tell everybody where you can find Darlene.
Sure.
And then, Darlene, you can have any last words. And then I
Okay.
have to show my tea bag wisdom, which I always do. Um, while Kaylee gets it up. And if it doesn't come up, I'm just going, there it goes. There it goes. Thank you.
You can see it? Okay.
There it is. There's
Mhm.
the Amazon page. And the circle in the middle is Metatron's cube.
Okay. That came to me in a very, one of those aha moments that was way beyond an aha moment, and knowing how those circles came together. Um, and so that's where the mantra came from. That was the inspiration. And the tree is the best explanation of how that works
Right.
with us as humans.
Um, I love my trees. I've written a children's book on trees.
Wonderful. I am hoping to eventually write a numerology book for children because I think the importance of their name would be so great to have them understand that, and what the energy it holds.
Well, they're on the precipice of it, you know. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
are our leaders into this unknown future of the Aquarian age. So
Absolutely.
eat it up.
Absolutely.
So
Right.
you can find Darlene. I want to make sure I spell her name out. It's her website is Darlene Chadbourne, DarleneChad, and then BOURNE.com. And shall I share your email?
Yes, please go ahead.
Her email address is midlifespirit@gmail.com. And any final words, Darlene? While Kelly takes the book cover off of the page.
Well, I am booking into January, and the email is the quickest, best way to get a hold of me, and or through my website on book an appointment page. There's a PayPal link, and so that comes directly to me. But those are the best ways to get a hold of me. And then I get a hold of you and ask you for all that information I need. I do need the information ahead of time. I prepare for 2 hours before I even talk to you, so that I know what we're dealing with in your numbers chart. So, other than that, I just love doing what I love, and I love talking to anybody that's interested.
Well, I thank you for being here with us. And these are always right. They're or yogi teas. They're not my tea bags, but um, I know nobody can read this. I always show it to show
Yes, I
that I'm
can.
not making it up. And it says, "Your strength is your own belief." I've never had anything quite like that, and it fits, doesn't it? It
Does.
really fits,
Really, really does.
especially what happened to you at 50. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, you know how to contact Darlene now, and you hopefully know how to contact me too. And her book is online, and you can find it at any online retailer probably. Um, Next week, our final guest of the year will be debut author Robert Babarad. You may recognize that surname as he is the brother of a previous guest, Christy Lee Babarad. And Robert has written a travel memoir called In Transit Passenger. And it's all about the touchstones of travel and how they can help you find your life purpose and passion. So in a way, it is a fitting, a fitting. I didn't intend this when I asked him on, but they fit together like puzzle pieces: purpose,
Mm-hmm.
passion, and all that. And everybody will be off for the holidays. You will be getting a survey next week because I'd love to know what you thought of all these shows so we can plan 2021 better. You can find all our previous interviews here on my Facebook author page and at YouTube. And so catch up during the holidays if you're bored. You can find out more about me and my work at shoresofoursouls.com and at ground1onecoaching.com. But for now, this is Kathy Ramsperger bidding you a good weekend and a great book to read. Thank you, Darlene.
Thank you.
Take care. I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye now.